welcome to another episode of our show, Storytime with Becky. Today we're going to be talking about a man who was paralyzed. To be paralyzed means you can't walk and you can't hardly use your legs. This man would have to sit and lay down all the time. Could you imagine what it's like to live like that? How would you use the bathroom? What kind of games could you play? Do you think it would be easy to make friends? Now, Jesus was going town to town preaching and doing miracles, and he stopped at this one house. And this house was in a different city, so all of these people came to this house and wanted to see what Jesus had to say. There was no room in the house whatsoever. They were shoulder to shoulder, and there wasn't even room outside of the door. Everyone lined up even outside of the house and around the house just to be able to hear what Jesus had to say. I can imagine that these people were pushing and squeezing each other in the house just to try to get everyone in. But there were 4 men who heard Jesus was in town, and they had a friend who was paralyzed. And they thought this is a perfect opportunity to get him healed because he had been sick and paralyzed for so many years, and no one could ever help him. So the friends decided to put their friend on a mat and carry their friend to the house that Jesus was in. Now when the friends got there, they looked in the house and they saw that there was no room in the house to even move. How would they get their friend in the house? They couldn't put him through the door, and they certainly couldn't fit him through the window. So they looked around and they began to think that they couldn't see Jesus today. But they were talking, and they didn't know how long Jesus would be in this town for, so they had to see him today, and they had to make a plan. So they looked around, and they went up the roof. Mind you, houses back then typically had stairs along the side of the house that led to a flat roof. And the roof was made out of tiles or plaster, so it was easy to move away or to make holes in. So the friends carried their friend, the paralytic man, up the roof and pulled the tiles away and started to lower him in. Meanwhile, in the house, everyone looked up because the roof was crumbling and there was debris everywhere. They looked up and they stopped. Everything was silent. And they saw a man being lowered in their roof. Could you imagine what the owner of the house felt like? The ceiling was crumbling and everyone looked up. And when Jesus saw that 4 friends of this man had carried this man all the way to see Jesus, he immediately said to the man, "Your sins are forgiven." This is not probably what the paralyzed man wanted to hear. He probably wanted to hear, "You may get up and walk home now." To say your sins are forgiven, yeah, that's nice, but that's not really what I wanted right now. The teachers of the law were in this house, and they overheard Jesus telling the paralyzed man that his sins were forgiven. And they thought to themselves, how dare he? How dare this man come here and tell this other man that his sins are forgiven? Only God has that kind of power. So then Jesus looked at the man, and he put his hand over his head, and he said, "Take your bed and walk home." The man was then able to lift his legs up and stand. The man hasn't stood for years, and he took his bed and he left the house in front of everyone. Tonight, let us thank God for all the blessings he's given us and all the special little things he's given us individually, and ask that he continues to watch over us and protect us daily. Thank you for watching another episode of Storytime with Becky. Have a good night, sweet dreams, and I'll see you next time.